You're listening to From Fear to Love. I'm your host, Alma Lee. Everything that you could ever possibly need to think or feel good about is already inside you. I'd like to take today's episode of From Fear to Love into a new space. It's in alignment with my own growth, which is what the podcast is sort of geared from anyway, is my sharing perspectives. And that's the topic, is perspective. What is your perspective? What do you think about life? What do you think about yourself? What do you think your purpose is here today in this world? Do you think that you were born just to get up in the morning and serve others? Do you feel like your purpose in this life is to just earn a wage, get up, eat your breakfast, go to work, drive in, deal with the stress and the trials and the tribulations of a stressful work environment, stressful coworkers, disrespectful customers? You know what I'm talking about. You know the din that you normally anticipate when you first crack your eyes open in the morning. What I'd like to do today is I would like for you to humor me and to suspend your disbelief just for a moment, to consider an alternative. Consider a new way of thinking. Now, I am aware of the majority of my listeners are many people from the military. And there's a lot of folks in the military. It's a paradigm. It's a paradigm mindset of philosophies in alignment with mission readiness, discipline, and sort of, hive mind thinking. It's not encouraged to think independent of your team. And what I would like to engage you to do is to consider who you are as an individual, what your purpose is, and why you're here. My question to you today is, what is your perspective? Have you sat down? Have you honestly journaled or even meditated, or just take some moments in stillness and quiet to consider who you really are? We get so consumed and wrapped up in the day-to-day activities that we are obligated to fulfill each and every day. We all have responsibilities. We all have a role that we have to play, whatever that is. And because of those roles, it's really easy to get caught up in a knee-jerk, mindless effort every day where we're almost operating from a subconscious element. And that's the point and purpose of today's episode, is to ask you to entertain the thought of thinking independent of that for yourself for just a moment. I talk all the time about your own healing journey. I advocate going to see a therapist. But keep in mind, that's only part of this. That's only part of your journey. Part of your journey is to have that external validation, to learn some new skills, to learn different ways of thinking. Listening to a podcast is part of that. Listening to me is part of that. But another part of that too is for you to sort of take the wheel and to sit behind the driver's seat in your own wellness, to be that good steward of your well-being. I'm here to tell you and basically be a voice for you to give yourself permission to start thinking and moving differently so that you can enjoy your life on a different level. Now, that may seem to be a scary concept to many of you, and that's understandable, especially if it's the unknown. If it's something that you've never done before, is to sit down with yourself, maybe pull a journal out and just write down who you are, and to consider taking some time for yourself. Well, that might seem selfish, but I would ask you this: what is the definition of selfishness? I doubt very seriously that you can write out a definition of what selfishness is and have it literally and logically make sense. because we've been groomed to believe that doing anything for ourselves is not good. So hence it's selfish, right? So I want to sort of disentangle that as well. I want to encourage you to entertain self-care without self-deprecation. Self-care without self-deprecation. Think about taking some time for yourself in meditation and consideration, in identifying what your own personal values are, figuring out what it is about your life that is not satisfying, that is not fulfilling, figuring out what track you're on right now, and deciding for yourself if that's where you want to be. And if it's not, where do you want to go? There are so many questions that you can answer, that you have the power within you to answer. You just need to understand that you have to take time to figure that out. You got to figure out what the questions are first. So if you open your eyes in the morning and you're dreading the day and you're not looking forward to getting up, I'm over here telling you, when you wake up in the morning, you should be excited about your day. You should feel joy to get up and say, oh my gosh, I've been given another day of life. I've been given a beautiful day of living, and I wonder what the potential is. I wonder what the day will hold for me. Those, in my opinion, are the ideals that should enter into your mind as soon as you wake from a deep night of quiet, peaceful slumber. That is ideally where you should be. And if that's not where you are, then this is your invitation to start considering making some necessary changes in how you're moving through your life. See, many people think their perspective, this is a perspective shift. Many people believe, because of their perspective, because of what they've been groomed and programmed to believe about themselves, is that they have no control. Nothing, and I do mean nothing, could be further from the truth. You have all the control. You just don't know it. You don't know it because it's never been cultivated. You've never been shown what that looks like. You've never been invited to embark upon a journey where your perspective is in alignment with the belief that you are in control. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you are a person who deals with chronic anxiety, that foreboding feeling that envelops you every day. It's like a constant heavy blanket of worry. What if? I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough. Oh God, what's going to happen next? When is this going to, when are the chips going to fall? And you, maybe because your anxiety is so prevalent that you no longer even have the ability to trust when you're happy. Is your anxiety that pervasive in your life that because it's so ever present that when you do have those glimmers of moments of happiness and fulfillment that you even question whether or not it's going to last or whether or not it's real? See, I'm here to tell you that I am a living, breathing example of what that looks like to be able to move out of that and to grab back onto your power and to understand that you have all the control in the world. Every bit of it is yours. You have the perspective that you don't have that power because your value systems have been groomed to, maybe you're a mom, maybe you're a wife, maybe you're a dad, maybe you're someone who believes that your value and your worth is tied up only in what you can deliver for other people. How much money you make is in alignment with how you see yourself. And if you don't earn money, you have no value. You have no worth. If you don't take care of your children properly, you have no value. You have no worth. But look at your family and look at your income. And have you ever let yourself down? Granted, you might be somebody who engages in self-deprecating, a self-deprecating mindset that causes you, that promotes you to push yourself harder so that you do succeed. So now you've kind of gotten caught up in that that negativity, that vacuum of negative sense of self as a means of pushing yourself into your successes. So maybe you believe that the only reason that you're successful is because of self-deprecation. And I'm over here just telling you that it is important that you shift that mindset. You can still be successful without beating yourself up. It is critical that you take time for yourself. It is critical that you sit with yourself and that you take moments of consideration, thoughtful consideration, where you articulate where that breakdown occurred and what the breakdown is. What negative mindset are you adapting to, or you have adapted yourself to? What is your perspective? What perspective within you needs to shift? Are you self-deprecating? Do you have a shameful narrative that while you may not verbalize to other people, you internalize to yourself? What are the awful, horrible, terrible things that you say to yourself internally that maybe you do so, it happens naturally on a cellular level that you don't even recognize it? It's just such an integral part of your programming. You don't even know when it's happening. Those moments, those ideals, those perspectives, that's where your joy is being leached out. You're leaking it. You're losing it. And because of that self-deprecating mindset, you deny yourself the fulfillment that you're seeking. You won't be able to be happy and fulfilled until you rectify where you're allowing your joy to seep out. Being self-deprecating, saying nasty, mean, awful, shameful things about yourself internally as a means of motivating yourself into your success is a negative, counterintuitive, dysfunctional, toxic way of living your life. So what is your perspective? What do you want to heal and grow from? The power lies within you. You have the control. You have the ability to shift your mindset today, right here and now, in this moment. You can choose to decide to think and feel better about yourself. Now, there's fear attached to that. I won't deny that. But you also have to understand where that fear comes from. What are you fearful of? What is preventing you from shifting your mindset? What is in your way right here and now in this moment as you're listening to my voice that is keeping you from stopping the negative thoughts? What are you afraid of? Because what's going to happen is once you shift your perspective, you're going to start behaving differently. And we all know what happens when we act differently, right? We know that when we start acting differently, when we stop acting dysfunctionally, especially toward ourselves, then basically what that behavior does is it sends a signal to those people that are in our lives. And they start to recognize that we're doing things differently. And so they have to decide on how they're going to respond. And so we might be fearful of their reaction to our newfound independence of ourselves and our independence from our toxic, dysfunctional ways. So other people who may have benefited from our self-deprecating mindset might push back against that. They might have something to say to you about how you're moving. They might say, you know what, I don't like that. I don't like this newness about you. I don't like this new attitude. Who do you think you are? Why are you acting like you're better than me? Why are you acting like you're better than everybody else? Nobody wants to be judged, and so there's fear tied up in that. All I'm saying to you is to understand that on a cellular level, you know that what I'm saying to you is correct. Because on a cellular level, we all love ourselves. On a very basic, subconscious, intuitive, cellular level, we know what we're worth. We come into this life fully accepting ourselves. Everything negative that we have, that we sort of lean into, is something that was taught to us as we grew. It's something that was groomed in us. We were programmed to believe about ourselves. So you know that all you need to do in order to achieve your happiness and your fulfillment is you've got to go back in time to get to that space before you were programmed. Well, Alma, how do I do that? Well, that's great. That's a great question. You meditate, you pray, but you meditate, and you lean into your spiritual growth, and you allow the fear to pass. You understand the fear through your stillness. You quiet the overthinking, anxious, anxiety-riddled mind. You sit with it. You stare it down in quiet solitude and patience and understand where those thoughts came from. And you allow them. And you allow the judgments from other people with gratitude and understanding that they have their own journey to go on as well. Because for whatever reason, they're leaning into your dysfunction as a means of their own survival too. See, we are mirrors. Everything that we think and feel about ourselves, we draw in to our environment through our relationships with other people. And we encourage the dysfunction if we are encouraging dysfunction in ourselves. So when you grow and when you heal and when you do the deep dive, when you learn who you are, when you evaluate and assess the good and the bad and the things you want to keep and the things you want to get rid of, and you grow through that, it shows and it mirrors in your relationships with those people who would normally engage you in the dysfunctional feedback. And maybe they're not ready to do all that growing with you. So there's going to be some conflict there. You have to understand and expect that. And I think for a lot of us, we already know that. That's the fear. We're fearful of that change. We're fearful of our relationships having to be forcibly resolved through our own evolution. So we choose to stay where we are so that we don't rock the boat. But when you wake up in the morning and you open your eyes and you're already tired, isn't that your sign? Isn't that your signal to start thinking differently? Don't you think that something's got to give at this point because you're so weary all the time? Don't you want to feel your joy? Facing your fears, that in and of itself is a fearful conquest, isn't it? But aren't you fearful of living the rest of your life feeling awful every morning, or at least feeling dread, or feeling nothing, feeling no joy, feeling just the humdrum homeostasis of a comfortable life? Don't you want to evolve past that point? Don't you want to wake up in the morning and be excited about your day? Don't you want to set an example for your family on what joy looks like? You can carry that torch. You can choose to do that today. So I have created a workshop. This is kind of a plug here. I've created a workshop. It's called the POWERshop, and it is a transformative resiliency experience. It is very new. We've had one beta test, which was beyond my expectations, successful. We're currently building up 3 more POWERshops, and those invitations will be present on my social media. If you follow me on Instagram, you can find me on @IamAlmaLee on Instagram. I am Alma Lee. Or you can find me on The Alma Lee Show is also my other Instagram as well. You can find me on Facebook at Alma Lee, ALMALEIGH, just like on the podcast. And you can follow. All of the posts that I make are always public. So even if we're not friends and connected that way, you can see the posts that I make. So I will be announcing really soon 3 POWERshops coming up. Now, as it stands, the offer is the POWERshop is a 1-day intensive. This is a very intensive program. This will teach you all of the tenets of sort of reprogramming your mindset in regards to your perspectives. It's a jump start, like one of those, like when your battery's dead on your car. You can think of it that way. It's not therapy. You might find it to be therapeutic, obviously, but it is a transformative resiliency experience. It's intended to teach you how to sort of reframe your mindset and to jumpstart you into a new thought process And it is intended to give you the tools that you can take away from the POWERshop, from the workshop, and sit down and start fixing things based on how you see your future. So you're given a set of tools, some experiences, and you're expected to do the work. And it's, is it hard work? Yes, it's hard work, but it's one of those jobs that you're excited about because you finally have some excitement moving forward. So that's the POWERshop. And so look for that. It's coming. We should have some new events uploaded here in a couple of weeks. So today's episode is November 4th in 2022. And so in the next couple of weeks on social media, then we will make those announcements, my team and I, to future POWERshops. So that is just a snippet of what you can expect from the POWERshop. Is it allows you the space to understand yourself better without the attachment to self-deprecating mindsets. See, you can't grow if you're beating yourself up along the way. It's the equivalent of, trying to go to physical therapy after surgery and then hitting yourself in the leg every time you take a step. You can't be self-deprecating while you're growing and healing. And so the POWERshop teaches you how to be accountable. That's another aspect too, is to be accountable without self-deprecation. You cannot beat yourself up. It's all about learning. It's all about understanding and growing. It's understanding how our own toxic mindset has injured and caused disruption in our lives, especially in the relationships that we have with other people. So wanted to give that plug and wanted to encourage you that whether or not you join me on a future POWERshop, irrelevant to this podcast, it is important, critical even, as you listen to this and as I wrap up, that you take time for yourself, even if it's just 5 minutes in the morning of just some deep breathing. Doing that deep breathing and slowing the mind down will set you up for more success throughout your day than anything else that you can do. More so than eating, more so than drinking. It will help right your mindset. Take the control back over your narrative. Don't allow your internal programming to guide you into continued dysfunction and unhappiness and unfulfillment. You don't need to do that. You have all the ability and power and control within yourself right now. You might not know how. And if that's the case, then maybe you should check out the POWERshop. The POWERshop might be good for you. POWERshop is perfect for people who are ready to do some heavy lifting in their own life, people who are not in crisis, and people who are not using substances or abusing or addicted to substances. Those individuals need individual clinical psychotherapy and medications in order to get themselves on that path in order to attend a POWERshop in the future. I welcome you. But if you are in crisis currently, I highly recommend that you seek immediate help, whether that's calling 911 or going to the emergency room. And then once you get, into a steady space, then check out a POWERshop. We would love to have you. We would love to have you join us. But it is an 8-hour intensive. It's not like any other workshop you may have attended before. It's not one size fits all. You take away what works for you, and you do a lot of journaling, and you learn a lot of skills in the 8 hours. 8 hours itself is basically a booster shot for your wellness, and it teaches you and empowers you to get yourself and your mindset right, and it works. And I'm really, really proud of it. I'm really proud of the attendees from the beta test on the 29th of October. So many people joined in, and we had some really, really good results. So I look forward to seeing you there. I appreciate you listening to this podcast, From Fear to Love with Alma Lee. And I want to see you not just survive. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you evolve into the very best version of yourself and find your purpose and achieve your purpose. And to do that with love, kindness, care, and compassion for yourself, because you can't have those aspects for other people until you do the work yourself. Look forward to seeing you. And I love you guys. All right. From Fear to Love. This has been an LBM production. Please like, subscribe, and share this show. Thanks for listening.